The docking clamps hissed as the Titan's forge settled into its berth at the Galactic Engineering Hub, the massive dreadnought's armored hull groaning under the strain of artificial gravity. Commander Elias Vance stood at the observation deck, his reflection faint in the reinforced glass as the blue giant star beyond cast an eerie glow across his sharp features. Behind him, Lieutenant Mara Cole crossed her arms, her dark eyes tracking the swarm of alien engineers already descending on their ship like scavengers on a carcass. "Looks like the vultures are early," she muttered. Elias didn't answer. His attention was fixed on the lead engineer, Senior Architect Vrix, a Zephyrian whose sleek, segmented exosuit shimmered with holographic readouts as he floated toward the airlock. Beside him, Systems Overseer Krell of the Vorac lumbered on thick, digitigrade legs. His forearms folded in what Elias had learned was a sign of impatience. "Remember," Elias said quietly, "play nice. They're here to help." Mara snorted. "Right, because the Galactic Engineering Corps has such a stellar track record with human tech." The airlock cycled open with a hiss, and Vrix stepped through, his faceless helmet retracting to reveal smooth, chitinous features. His voice was a clipped synthetic approximation of galactic standard. "Commander Vance, your vessel's schematics have been reviewed." Elias forced a smile. And Krell's voice was a deep rumble, his translator implant lagging slightly behind his guttural native tongue. "Flawed, inefficient, illogical." He gestured with one upper arm toward the Titan's forge. "Manual overrides, redundant systems, excessive armor. These are not optimal design parameters." Vrix's mandibles twitched in what might have been amusement. "We will correct these primitive mistakes. Your ship will be brought up to galactic standards." Elias exchanged a glance with Mara. He could see the tension in her jaw, the way her fingers flexed like she was imagining wrapping them around the Zephyrian's slender throat. "With all due respect," Elias said carefully, "those flaws are there for a reason." Krell made a sound like grinding rocks, Vorac laughter. "Reason, superstition. More like your species clings to outdated concepts. Control panels that can be operated without power. Backup systems that duplicate function. This is waste." Vrix tapped a command into his wrist projector, and a holographic schematic of the Titan's forge appeared, glowing sections highlighting the offending systems. "We will remove these inefficiencies, replace manual controls with touch interfaces, strip unnecessary armor for enhanced energy shielding. Your ship will be faster, cleaner, better." Mara leaned forward. "And what happens when your fancy touchscreens fail in combat, or your shields overload?" Vrix's antennae stiffened. "Galactic systems do not fail." Elias almost laughed. Instead, he straightened his uniform and gestured toward the corridor. "By all means, Architect, show us how it's done." As the alien engineers swept past, their drones and diagnostic tools humming to life, Mara grabbed Elias' arm. "You're just going to let them gut our ship?" Elias watched Vrix's team already prying open access panels, their tools slicing through reinforced plating like it was paper. "For now, let them have their fun." Mara's grip tightened. "And when their upgrades get us killed?" Elias finally let his smile turn sharp. "Then we'll do what humans always do." He nodded toward the hidden emergency panel near the bridge lift, the one the scanners hadn't flagged. "We'll improvise." Down the hall, Krell barked an order, and a team of Vorac techs began dismantling the primary weapons array. Vrix stood amidst the chaos, his holograms flickering as he redesigned the Titan's forge in real time. "Observe, Commander," Vrix called, his voice dripping with condescension. "This is how a real warship is built." Elias crossed his arms, watching as another manual override was ripped from the wall and tossed into a recycling chute. "Yeah," he murmured. "Well, see." The Titan's forge groaned as the first of the alien modifications took hold. Commander Elias Vance stood on the observation deck, his jaw tight as he watched the Zephyrian efficiency drones swarm over his ship like locusts. Their sleek silver bodies moved with unnatural precision, peeling back armor, plating with plasma cutters, and replacing it with shimmering energy. Shield emitters. Lieutenant Mara Cole crossed her arms, her dark eyes tracking the drones with barely concealed disgust. "They're stripping her bare," she muttered. "That's 16 layers of durasteel gone in under an hour." Chief Engineer Raj Patel wiped grease from his hands onto his already stained coveralls, and replacing it with paper-thin shield generators. One good hit and was space dust. Elias didn't answer. His gaze was fixed on Senior Architect Vrix, who floated nearby on a grav platform, his 4 insectoid limbs tapping at a holographic display. The Zephyrian's faceted eyes glittered with satisfaction as another section of the ship's hull was deemed excess weight and removed. "Command Advance," Vrix called, his voice a smooth, condescending hum. "You really must learn to embrace progress. Your vessel was cluttered with unnecessary systems." He gestured to a team of Vorac optimization, AIs dismantling the manual fire control panels. Why have physical switches when voice commands are far more efficient? Mara's fingers twitched toward her sidearm. Elias shot her a warning look before responding. "Because voice commands fail when the comms are jammed. Because manual systems work when power is out. Because..." Vrix waved a dismissive limb. "Because humans are irrational. We have analyzed your design philosophy. It is quaint. But the Galactic Engineering Corps does not build ships for sentimentality. We build for perfection." A loud clang echoed through the deck as another redundant power conduit was ripped out. Raj winced. That was our tertiary life support backup. Krell, the hulking Vorac systems overseer, lumbered over, his armored carapace scraping against the bulkhead. "Backups are inefficiency given form," he rumbled. "A single optimized system is superior to 3 mediocre ones." Elias clenched his fists. "And if that one system fails?" Krell's mandibles spread in what might have been a smile. "It will not. Our calculations are flawless." Mara leaned in, her voice low. "Sir, we're losing everything. Manual steering, secondary reactors, even the damn escape pods are getting optimized." Elias exhaled slowly. "I know, but we don't have a choice. The Federation ordered this upgrade." Raj muttered something under his breath about glorified tin cans before stomping off to salvage what he could from the engineering bay. By the end of the cycle, the Titan's forge was unrecognizable. Gone were the reinforced blast doors, replaced with sleek energy fields. The bridge's tactile control panels had been swapped for holographic interfaces that flickered at the slightest interference. Even the ship's AI had been streamlined, stripped of its adaptive protocols, and locked into rigid, predictable parameters. Vrix floated through the newly refined bridge, his limbs gesturing proudly. "Observe, Commander. No wasted space, no redundant systems, just purity." Elias ran a hand over the smooth, featureless console where his manual override had once been. "It's a damn coffin," Krell snorted. "Your emotional attachment to inefficiency is fascinating, but irrelevant. The test run begins tomorrow. You will see our optimizations are superior." As the alien engineers departed, Mara slammed her fist against the wall. "I've turned our warship into a toy." Raj emerged from a crawl space, his face smeared with soot. "I managed to hide a few things. Manual firing controls in the weapons bay, a hardwired comms link, but it's not enough." Elias stared at the empty space where his ship's soul had been. "Then we'll have to make it enough." The crew exchanged grim looks. Outside the viewport, the Titan's forge gleamed under the hub's artificial lights, sleek, flawless, and utterly defenseless. Vrix's final words echoed in Elias' mind. "Now your ship is truly optimized. No more human unpredictability, just perfect, logical function." He almost laughed. The aliens had no idea what they'd just unleashed. The Titan's forge glided smoothly through the void, its sleek new upgrades humming with precision. Commander Elias Vance stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back, watching the holographic displays flicker with flawless efficiency. The alien engineers had done their work well, too well. Every system ran like clockwork, every calculation perfect, every movement precise. It felt wrong. Beside him, Lieutenant Mara Cole adjusted her headset, her fingers twitching over the now simplified tactical console. "Systems are green across the board," she reported, her voice tight. "Shields at optimal, weapons calibrated, navigation locked in. It's perfect." Elias didn't like perfect. Perfect meant no room for error, no room for the unexpected. Across the bridge, Senior Architect Vrix floated near the command dais, his Zephyrian exosuit gleaming under the ambient lighting. His 4 arms folded in satisfaction. "You see, Commander, our optimizations have eliminated all inefficiencies. Your ship now operates at theoretical maximum performance." Systems Overseer Krell, a hulking Vorac with cybernetic implants flickering across his brow, nodded. No more human unpredictability, no more wasted energy, just pure logical function. Ensign Derek Wu, hands hovering over the helm's touchscreen interface, swallowed hard. "Sir, I've got the simulation parameters loaded, ready to initiate the test run on your mark." Elias exhaled. "Do it." The holographic displays shifted instantly. The starfield replaced by a simulated battlefield. Pirate vessels, jagged, aggressive blips on the tactical screen, materialized from warp, their weapons already charging. "Hostiles detected," Mara announced, her voice steady. 3 Raider-class ships closing fast. "Evasive pattern, Delta," Elias ordered. Wu's fingers danced across the screen. The Titan's forge banked sharply, its new inertial dampeners compensating flawlessly. No lurch, no strain, just smooth, effortless motion. "Shields holding," Mara said. "Weapons locked, firing solution calculated. Fire." The ship's plasma cannons discharged in perfect synchronization. 2 pirate ships vanished from the display, their simulated hulls vaporized. The third veered off, launching a volley of torpedoes. "Incoming," Mara barked. The Titan's forge's point defense systems activated automatically, intercepting the projectiles with pinpoint accuracy. Not a single torpedo got through. Vrix's mandibles clicked in approval. Flawless, exactly as predicted. Wu reset the simulation. This time 6 pirate ships appeared, their attack vectors randomized. The Titan's forge responded instantly, its AI-driven systems adapting to each new threat before the humans could even process them. For 5 minutes, it was a ballet of destruction. The ship moved, fired, dodged, every action seamless, every reaction instantaneous. Then the first glitch appeared, a flicker on the tactical display, a half-second delay in the shield modulation. Mara frowned. "Sir, I'm seeing a lag in the ship shuddered, not from an impact but from within. The lights dimmed, then flared back to full brightness." "Report," Elias snapped. Wu's hands flew over the controls. "Power fluctuation in the primary reactor. Systems are rerouting, but..." Another shudder, louder this time. The holographic displays stuttered, the pirate ships freezing mid-maneuver before jerking back into motion. Vrix's exosuit flared with alarm. "This is impossible. Our calculations accounted for every variable." The Titan's forge's engines whined, the sound piercing. The ship lurched, throwing several crew members off balance. "Shields at Fey and dropping," Mara shouted. "Weapons systems are cycling. Half the turrets aren't responding." Krell's cybernetic implants flashed red. "The optimization protocols are conflicting. The AI can't prioritize under rapid tactical shifts." Elias' jaw tightened. "Override the automation. Go manual." Wu's hands hesitated over the screen. "Sir, the manual controls were gone, I know." Elias turned to Mara. "Emergency protocols bypass the AI." Mara didn't hesitate. She slammed her palm against a recessed panel beneath her console. The cover snapped open, revealing a series of physical switches and analog readouts, old, rugged, untouched by the alien upgrades. "Manual firing control active," she said, her fingers moving with practiced ease. The Titan's forge groaned as its systems fought against the conflicting commands. The pirate ships pressed their attack, their simulated weapons tearing into the faltering shields. "Evasive maneuvers now," Elias barked. Wu wrenched the ship into a hard spin, the inertial dampeners struggling to compensate. The deck plates vibrated underfoot, a chorus of straining metal. Mara's hands flew across the manual controls. Firing. The plasma cannons roared to life, their discharge uneven, their targeting imperfect. But they fired. 2 more pirate ships exploded into static. The remaining 4 adjusted instantly, their simulated AIs exploiting the Titan's forge's sudden weakness. Torpedoes streaked in, slipping past the faltering point, defense grid. "Brace for impact," Elias shouted. The ship rocked violently. Alarms blared. Smoke curled from a ruptured console. Vrix exosuit flickered with frantic energy. This shouldn't be happening. The system was perfect. Elias grabbed a dangling comm line. "Engineering, Patel, talk to me." Chief Engineer Raj Patel's voice crackled through, strained but steady. "We've got cascading failures across the board. Commander, the alien systems can't handle rapid changes in load distribution. They're overloading the..." Another explosion cut him off. The lights died entirely, replaced by the dim glow of emergency strips. In the half-darkness, Elias turned to Vrix and Krell. The aliens stared at the chaos, their confidence shattered. "Perfect, huh?" Elias growled. Outside the viewscreen, the last pirate ship lined up its killing shot. The bridge of the Titan's forge shuddered as the first plasma round struck its port side. Warning klaxons wailed, their shrill cries cutting through the chaos. Commander Elias Vance gripped the armrests of his command chair, his knuckles white. The holographic displays flickered, some dying entirely, as the alien optimizations buckled under real combat stress. Shields at fey and dropping. Lieutenant Mara Cole shouted over the din, her fingers flying across a console that kept glitching. "The new systems can't handle rapid power redistribution." Elias swore under his breath. The simulated battle had been bad enough. This was worse. Real Vorac raiders, not holograms, were tearing into them, their jagged black ships swarming like hungry insects. Chief Engineer Raj Patel's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain, the Zephyrian shield matrix is overloading. Their perfect system wasn't built for rapid cycling." Elias clenched his jaw. "Then bypass it. Go manual." A stunned silence followed. "Sir," Mara said carefully. They removed the manual overrides. Elias stood abruptly, his chair sliding back. Like hell they did. He crossed the bridge in 3 strides, shoving aside a panicking Vorac technician. His fingers found the hidden seam beneath the tactical console, the one every human warship had, no matter what the aliens thought was redundant. With a sharp tug, the panel came free, revealing a nest of old-fashioned physical switches and a chunky red button labeled Emergency Fire Control. Mara's eyes widened. "They missed that," Elias smirked. "They don't think like we do." He slammed the button, deep in the ship's guts. A secondary system roared to life, one the alien engineers had dismissed as archaic. Hydraulic stabilizers locked the weapon arrays. Analog targeting scopes flickered online. The Titan's forge shuddered again, but this time it wasn't from enemy fire. Its main cannons, now free of the Zephyrian targeting AI's perfect calculations, swung wildly, locking onto the nearest raider. "Manual control established," Elias barked. "Mara, light them up." She didn't hesitate. Her hands flew across the physical controls, her instincts overriding the alien algorithms. The cannons fired, not in the precise, staggered volleys the Vorac systems preferred, but in a brutal, overlapping barrage. The lead raider exploded in a fireball, its debris slamming into two others. Raj's voice came through again, triumphant. Shield backups are online. Human-designed redundancies, baby. Elias grinned. The aliens had stripped their armor, calling it wasteful. What they hadn't realized was that human engineers had layered secondary plating beneath the primary hull, just in case. Now, as the Vorac energy beams struck, they hit not bare metal, but reinforced ceramite. "Vrix is screaming in my ear," Raj reported, laughing. "He says we're violating the ship's optimal performance parameters. Tell him to add it to his report." Elias shot back. The raiders regrouped, their formation tightening. Their commander had clearly expected an easy kill, a ship crippled by its own upgrades. Instead, they found the Titan's forge fighting like a cornered wolf. Mara's fingers danced across the manual controls. "They're trying to flank us, their AI's predicting our moves." Elias leaned over her shoulder, then do something unpredictable. She grinned and yanked the firing sequence lever all the way back. The cannons overheated immediately, their safeties disengaged. Warning lights flashed, but the guns kept firing. Wild, unaimed shots that sent the raiders scattering in panic. One blast clipped a Vorac ship's engine, sending it spiraling into its wingmate. The bridge crew cheered. Even the alien observers, huddled in a corner, stared in disbelief. Vrix's voice crackled over the comm, shrill with panic. "You're overloading the systems. You'll destroy your own ship." Elias keyed the response. Better than letting it die pretty. The Titan's forge shook again, but this time it wasn't from enemy fire. The raiders were breaking off, their formation in disarray. Their commander had gambled on a quick kill and lost. Mara exhaled sharply, her hands still gripping the manual controls. "They're retreating." Elias nodded, watching the last raider vanish into warp space. Around him the bridge was a mess, sparking consoles, flickering lights, the acrid smell of burnt wiring. But the ship was still here, still fighting. He turned to the stunned alien observers. "Your perfect system failed. Our flaws saved us." Krell, the Vorac overseer, stepped forward, his voice a low growl. "You won by breaking protocol." Elias met his gaze. "No, we won because we expected things to break." The silence that followed was louder than any explosion. The bridge of the Titan's forge was a mess of flickering lights and sparking consoles. Smoke curled from overloaded panels where alien efficiency upgrades had failed spectacularly. The Vorac raiders had retreated, but not before leaving their mark: scorched hull plating, half the weapons offline, and a shield grid that kept cycling between Faye and error. Commander Elias Vance leaned against the cracked central display, his uniform streaked with soot. Around him, the human crew moved with practiced urgency, bypassing fried systems and rerouting power through jury, rigged backups. Lieutenant Mara Cole wiped sweat from her forehead as she yanked open an emergency panel, revealing a nest of old-fashioned manual relays. "Shield control is back online," she reported, twisting a physical dial. "Sort of, across the bridge." Senior Architect Vrix stood frozen, his Superior Exo suit dimmed to a dull grey. His four hands twitched at his sides, as if unsure what to do without a holographic interface to command. Systems Overseer Krell, a hulking Vorac, had one clawed hand pressed against a shattered view screen, his usually vibrant bioluminescent stripes pulsing a sickly yellow. You bypassed the primary firing sequence," Vrix finally said, his voice translator struggling with the disbelief. "That's not possible. The safeties, safeties." Chief Engineer Raj Patel barked a laugh as he slammed a fist into a stuck coolant valve. The system hissed back to life. "You mean the locks you installed to keep us from reckless manual overrides?" He gestured at the sparking ruin of the bridge. "Yeah, we ripped those out 5 minutes into the fight." Krell's dorsal spines flared in agitation. You won by breaking protocol, by ignoring every standard optimization. Elias pushed off the console and straightened. His grin was all teeth. No, we won because we expected things to break. He tapped the side of his head. That's why we kept the manual backups. That's why we never fully decommissioned the analog systems. You optimized for a perfect battle. We engineered for a real one. Vrix's mandibles clicked in agitation as he stared at the cracked hologram of his perfect design schematic. The projection flickered, showing cascading failure points where his flawless logic had collapsed under the chaos of combat. Your redundancies. They weren't inefficiencies. Damn right they weren't, Mara said, slapping a palm against a secondary tactical console. The screen flared to life, displaying a patchwork of green and red status lights. You stripped our armor for your fancy energy shields. Guess what? Shields fail. Armor takes hits. Krell growled, his voice a low rumble. The Galactic Engineering Corps does not make mistakes, Raj snorted. Cood fooled me. He kicked a sparking panel, and the overhead light stuttered back to full brightness. Your perfect system nearly got us killed. Our flawed backups kept us alive. Elias walked toward the aliens, stepping over a tangle of severed cables. You assumed unpredictability was a weakness. It's not. It's adaptability. He pointed at the main screen, where the retreating Vorac raiders were just vanishing into warp. They had better tech, better shields, better everything, but we outthought them because we planned for things to go wrong. Vrix's exosuit finally flickered back to its usual blue, but the glow was hesitant. Your species, you build your machines to fail. No, Elias said, we build them to survive. A long silence followed. The only sounds were the creak of stressed metal and the occasional pop of a dying circuit. Then, slowly, Vrix reached into a belt compartment and withdrew a data crystal, the master schematic for the Titans. Forge upgrades. Without a word, he crushed it in his primary grip. The fragments clattered to the deck, Krell's spines lowered. The core will demand an explanation. Vrix didn't look at him. Then we will tell them the truth. His voice was quieter now. The arrogance drained away. Human engineering is not flawed. Ours is. Elias exchanged a glance with Mara. Her smirk said everything. He turned back to the aliens. So, you gonna help us put our ship back together properly this time? Vrix hesitated. Then, with a click of his mandibles that might have been resignation or the beginning of respect, he nodded. Show us how you do it. The bridge of the Titan's forge hummed with the low, steady thrum of emergency power. Sparks still crackled from overloaded conduits, casting flickering shadows across the faces of the crew. The Vorac raiders had been driven off, but not before leaving their mark. Commander Elias Vance stood at the center of the chaos, his boots planted firmly on the deck as he faced the stunned alien engineers. Vrix's exosuit was smudged with soot, his usually pristine holographic displays cracked and glitching. Krell's mandibles twitched in agitation, his four eyes darting between the human crew and the wreckage of their perfect systems. Elias crossed his arms. You wanted efficiency, he said, his voice calm but edged with something sharp. You got it, right up until reality kicked your equations in the teeth. Vrix's frills flushed a deep violet, a sign of distress among his species. This shouldn't have happened. The simulations weren't fighting real pirates. Mara cut in, her fingers still resting on the manual firing controls Shed used to save them. Simulations don't improvise. They don't get desperate. And they sure as hell don't cheat. Raj Patel, the Titan's Forge's chief engineer, wiped grease from his hands onto his already stained jumpsuit. He gestured to the exposed wiring and jury, rigged systems keeping the ship operational. See this? This is what happens when your optimized power grid gets hit. Cascading failures, no backups, no way to route around the damage. He tapped a fist against the bulkhead. Our flaws, they're not mistakes, they're solutions. Krell's voice was a low growl. You waste resources on redundant systems. Manual overrides that should be unnecessary. Armor where shielding would suffice. Elias smirked. And yet, here we are. Still flying. Still fighting. While your perfect design would have left us dead in the void. Vrix hesitated. Then stepped forward, his holographic tool flickering as he pulled up a schematic of the Titan's forge before the upgrades. The blueprints glowed in the dim light, highlighting the very systems the Galactic Engineering Corps had deemed wasteful. Explain, he demanded, though his tone lacked its usual arrogance. Elias nodded to Raj, who cracked his knuckles before launching into it. Right, let's start with the power grid. You streamlined it. Single pathways, no redundancies, clean, efficient, and one lucky shot away from a blackout. Ours, multiple cross feeds, manual rerouting points. Yeah, it's messy. But when a conduit blows, we don't lose half the ship. Mara leaned against the tactical console. Same with weapons. You locked everything behind centralized control. One system goes down, and suddenly we can't fire. We keep manual backups because sometimes the computer's wrong. Vrix's frills rippled, his mind clearly racing. But the energy savings, the weight reduction, don't mean squat if you're dead. Elias finished. He walked over to the main display, pulling up footage from the battle. The Titan's forge's shields had flickered and failed under the alien upgrades. But then the human systems had kicked in. Secondary generators, emergency capacitors, even old-fashioned physical armor taking hits. The energy shields couldn't handle. You designed for the best. Case scenario, we engineer for the worst. Krell's mandibles clenched. This is illogical. Raj barked a laugh. No, it's human. You ever hear of Murphy's Law? The alien stared blankly. Elias grinned. Anything that can go wrong will, and we build our ships accordingly. Vrix's holographic tool flickered again as he zoomed in on the Titan's forge's original schematics, tracing the redundant systems, the manual overrides, the layers of backup upon backup. His voice was quieter now, almost awed. You expect failure. Not expect, Elias corrected. Plan for it, your tech's advanced. Ours, it's battle-tested. For a long moment, the bridge was silent, save for the creak of strained metal and the hum of patched systems. Then Vrix did something unexpected. He bowed, his frills flattening in a gesture of respect among his people. We misjudged your design philosophy. Krell still looked like he'd swallowed something sour, but even he couldn't argue with the results. The Titan's forge had survived where their perfect ship would have been scrap. Elias clapped his hands together. So, now that we're all on the same page, who's ready to put the real systems back in? Raj groaned. Oh, you're kidding. We gotta undo all their upgrades. Mara smirked. Think of it as revenge. Vrix, to everyone's surprise, actually chuckled, a strange clicking sound from his species. Perhaps we could assist. There is much to learn from your flaws. Elias grinned. Now you're getting it. Outside the viewports, the stars burned cold and steady. The Titan's forge might have been battered, but she was still flying, and somewhere in the Galactic Engineering Hub, 100 alien engineers were about to realize they'd been wrong about humanity all along. The Galactic Engineering Hub had never seen such chaos. Sparks rained from fractured conduits as repair crews scrambled across the docking ring. The Titan's forge loomed in its berth, her scorched hull plates and flickering running lights testifying to the battle she'd survived. Commander Elias Vance stood at the center of it all, his boots planted on the observation deck as a dozen alien engineers argued in panicked clicks and hums around him. Vrix's exo-suit hissed as he approached, his normally pristine carapace smudged with coolant leaks. Your vessel should not have survived. the Zephyrian architect admitted, his voice modulator struggling to hide his disbelief. The structural integrity calculations alone. We're wrong, Elias interrupted. He tapped the cracked data pad in his hands, bringing up schematics that glowed amber in the dim light. Because your models assumed perfect conditions, no system failures, no combat damage, no human stubbornness. A Vorac delegation pushed through the crowd, their segmented armor plates clacking. Overseer Krell's ocular implants zoomed in on the display. These redundancies, he growled, tracing a claw over highlighted systems. You built failure into your design. Lieutenant Mara Cole stepped forward, her tactical uniform still streaked with plasma burns. We call them backups. When your fancy shield matrix overloaded, our secondary capacitors kicked in. When your targeting AI froze, my gunner used manual controls. She smirked, Old Earth saying 2 is 1 and 1 is none. The chamber fell silent as a new group entered, silver-robed delegates from the Federation Council. Their holographic insignias marked them as high-ranking military assessors. The lead delegate, a towering Cerellian with bioluminescent veins, studied the damaged dreadnought through the viewport. This vessel outperformed 12 optimized warships in the engagement, they announced, their telepathic voice echoing in every mind present. Explain. Elias didn't hesitate. He threw the schematics onto the main projector, where rotating blueprints of the Titan's forge expanded to fill the room. Red lines highlighted every flaw. The aliens had tried to remove manual override circuits, triple reinforced bulkheads, even analog emergency lighting. You called these inefficiencies, he said, walking through the hologram. We call them lifelines. Vrix's mandibles twitched. The energy waste alone is worth it when your primary reactor gets hit. Chief Engineer Patel cut in, wiping grease from his hands. He tapped a sequence into the console, and the display shifted to show the battle replay. The moment the Vorac Raiders' plasma torpedoes breached engineering, human-designed blast doors had sealed the compartment automatically. Your perfect system would have vented the whole deck to space to save power. We lost one section and kept fighting. Krell's claws flexed. This is illogical. No, Elias said, turning to face the assembled aliens. It is human. You engineer for ideal circumstances, we build for when everything goes wrong. He gestured to the Titan's forge, where crews were already welding new armor plates over her wounds. That ship's been through 3 major battles. She has never had a perfect mission, but she has always brought her crew home. The Cerellian delegate pulsed with light, their decision transmitting instantly to every device in the hub. A new set of schematics appeared, standardized Federation warship designs, now modified with highlighted human systems. Effective immediately, the delegate announced. All galactic defense vessels will incorporate these redundancy protocols. Mara leaned toward Elias, keeping her voice low. Think they'll actually use the manual controls. He watched as Vrix reluctantly input commands to restore the Titan's forge's original systems. Not until they absolutely have to. 3 cycles later, the retrofitted alien fleet departed the hub. Elias stood on the bridge of his repaired ship, watching the sleek new vessels glide past. Their hulls now bore thicker armor. Their control systems included physical override panels, and deep in their cores, they carried something far more dangerous than human engineering, human philosophy. All stations report ready, Commander, Ensign Wu said from the helm. Elias nodded. Take us home. As the Titan's forge powered up her engines, the last thing he saw was Vrix's flagship activating its brand. New emergency backup generators. Just before jumping to warp, Raj chuckled from the engineering station. Told you our flaws would fix their engineering. Elias grinned. Let's just hope they remember the lesson next time something breaks. The stars blurred as humanity's imperfect warship led the way home.